Good evening, good morning, buenos dias. Hello, how are you? I am Raquel Blake, one of the hosts of the Level Up Your Marriage conversation. I'm happy to be on this evening. Welcome, 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 wherever you are in the world. It's good to be here one more time. We thank Brother Dexter and the team for the great work that they're doing through the LBW, Living by the Word Network program. So, this evening, we continue our conversation about myths and truths of marriage counseling. But before we get into that conversation, I just want to pause to acknowledge and thank God. This program, Level Up Your Marriage, has been on for 6 months. Every first and third Fridays, we have been having these wonderful conversations. The audience contributes and join us, and we are celebrating 6 months. So we just want to take time to celebrate, to do a happy dance, and to ask that you continue to join us in the conversations about how we can things that we can do to level up our marriage, to improve our marriage, and to enhance our relationships. So thank you, Brother Dexter and the team, for this the platform and the good work, the great work that you're doing with this program and other programs. Just before our program, we had Action Friday, and we wanted to join in once it's possible to these and other programs. So this evening, welcome, Paul, Brother Dexter, welcome all those who are, yes, great. So this evening we continue our discussion, our conversation, part two. We are addressing myths and truths of marriage counseling. So we want to debunk any of those myths that you have about as it relates to marriage counseling. Marriage counseling is typically associated with several myths and misconceptions, as well as certain truths based on professional experience and study. So these beliefs can lead persons, or can cause undue hesitancy or excessive expectation in couples seeking treatment. So what we want to do through part two of our discussion is to look at some of these additional myths and how we want to share how we can debunk and provide some truths relating to marriage counseling. So understanding the reality that marriage counseling might shed some light on possible benefits and drawbacks. It's important that we take time to look at the truths. This game that people play, two truths and a lie, as it relates to myths and truths of marriage counseling. We have to recognize that myths and truths um, can help couples make informed decision about obtaining treatment, allowing them to approach counseling with a realistic. We want you to approach counseling with a realistic and optimistic attitude, because really, marriage counseling is wonderful. Brother Dexter and other individuals who have been on the program speak with excitement about it, how marriage counseling has helped their marriage before and after marriage. So, so it is important that as we begin the conversation tonight, I just want to do a quick review of some of the points we that came up last time. And one of the myths that we addressed last time is that marriage counseling is only for couples on the brink of divorce. And of course, we know that's definitely not true. Counseling can help to uh, enhance communication skills. It is indeed a preventative measure, and it strengthens relationship. We shared last time that when you purchase a car or when you purchase a home, you do the necessary maintenance so that you can get the full benefit of your investment. Similarly, marriage counseling can work like that for you to enhance communication skills and to definitely address minor issues before they escalate. So, as we begin this evening, I want to share a quote with you. And Paul, when you're ready to jump in, please feel free to jump in. The quote is one that I found online, and here's what it says: Marriage is meant to keep people together, not just when things are good, but particularly when they are not. That's why we take marriage vows, not wishes. And I would dare add, that's why marriage counseling is highly recommended, because On good days and on bad days, you want to be empowered. So, at the core of marriage counseling is that it provides tools for couples to enhance and improve their relationship. Marriage counseling is meant to help couples understand and resolve conflicts, to improve their relationship, to build a level of compassion and less fear when it comes to having those difficult conversations. Because Brother Dexter is married, I'm married to Paul, Paul is married to me. From time to time, we have to have difficult conversations, and marriage counseling can also make a difference at those times. What do you think, Paul?
Do I do agree that um, counseling helps in so many areas. And just to segue back to what we were discussing the last time about that particular myth that counseling is for those who are on the brink of divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And it is surprising how many people believe that. As a myth, but I can tell you that a lot of people believe that the only reason that you need to go for counseling for is when you're on the verge of breaking up or some dramatic thing has happened in the relationship. And that is really not true, right? Go to counseling to enhance your relationship, to help you to grow. So you don't have to be having a problem per se or to be in trouble to go to seek counseling, right? You can seek counseling just for just about any reason. And so I'm very happy that we had that particular discussion and to debunk that particular myth. In terms of this evening, we want to start at some place similar where we left off the last time. And the myth that marriage counseling is a quick fix, right? Marriage counseling is a quick fix. And so therefore, when you go into the counselor's office as a couple, persons who go and they expect that when they leave, they should have a flourishing relationship. And it really doesn't work like that. We know that for couples to be effective, for couples to be healthy, it is going to take some amount of time. Right? So it's going to take time to work through the issues, the different things that people have to work through. It can take anywhere from a month to a year, or sometimes way beyond. So the idea of marriage counseling being a quick fix is is a myth in itself that we ought not to buy into when we go to seek counseling. I would also want to add to that, Raquel, that you don't enter into marriage counseling hoping to fix the other person. What you want to do is to fix the relationship, right? And we have had the experience of spouses coming into the office expecting us to fix the other person. Persons literally come in and say, carry him or her so that you can fix them, right? And that in itself is a very false idea of what the counseling process is, and it is really not very helpful in that particular context. You hear me, Raquel?
Yes. There was a slight break though. Yes. So it's important. Can you
I,
still
I,
hear me?
I don't know what part. Yeah. Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. So continuing the conversation, I would definitely use this opportunity, or we would want to to share some general information or specific help in managing expectations when couples are thinking about coming to counseling. It's important that as counselors, that we give them, allow them to feel at ease, that we give them some information that will help them to manage their expectation as they prepare for counseling, or as they discuss whether or not counseling might be something that they want to consider. uh, can you am I still on? Okay. Yes. Yes, we are sorry about that. We're having a little technical issue, challenge. um and it makes the point that even in life and in all relationships, and even with technology and the programs, we have issues that we don't anticipate, but we have to pivot, and we will definitely pivot while we have the conversation. And that's the point where we want to send, that even in marriage, like the quote says, that there'll be good days and bad days. And on the good days, it's easy. But on the bad days, you're required to pivot. You're required to make some adjustments, which Brother Dexter is working on in the background for us. Making some adjustments so that the clarity of the presentation can will be enhanced, so you can hear us and you can participate. So we want to pause at this point to let you know that if you're on, those who are on, if you have any comments, feel free to drop them in the chat. And if you want to reach out to us, then you can send us an email at coc level up your marriage coc @gmail.com. Brother Dexter, uh,
Yes, I am. I am right here, sis. Sure. I just want to say good evening to each and every one that's tuned in via YouTube, Facebook, and those of you who may be listening via zeno.fm/Lbwradio. We do appreciate every one of you. We are trying to get things sorted out so that the quality of the production will be much better. We hopefully in a few minutes you will see Brother Paul and Sister Raquel on the same video. I believe that might just work out better for the session tonight. Nonetheless, I just want to encourage all to keep it locked to LBW Radio. I'll take the opportunity to highlight some of the programs that we have on a regular basis. Weekly, we have live programmings for the Christian and also for those who are aspiring to be Christians. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we have Bible chat at high noon with Brother Wendell Paris from Trinidad and Tobago. Every Monday to Friday, we have inspirational thoughts from 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. And every Monday from 9 to 10 a.m., we have Amen for Men. This is a program that is designed specifically for the brothers, for men, and not just brothers, I should say, for men in general. We also have the Brooklyn Bible Study every Thursday from 7:30 p.m. and every Friday from 6:30 to 8 we have Action Friday. However, Action Friday, we had our last programming tonight, and he will resume, Brother Cooper will resume in the month of August. And on the first and the third Friday of every month, we are having Level Up Your Marriage. So we are in the third week of this month, and that is why we are having this program tonight. And I can't help but leave the best for last. We do have one of our premier program that comes on every Tuesday
from 6:30 to 8 o'clock, entitled Breaking Out of Depression. I wanted to share a few thoughts on the subject at hand, but I think I will leave it to the experts to take care of the subjects. And I really love the topic, myths and truths about marriage counseling. And I want to encourage you to keep it locked. Please, please, please don't touch that dial this evening. So at this moment, I'm going to hand you over to Brother Paul and Sister Raquel Blake as they seek to continue on that pertinent subject. So please don't touch that dial. Send in your comments, send in your questions if you may have them, and don't forget to share this program with as many as possible. You can even share it with your friends and even your enemies as well. So at this moment, let us invite Brother Paul and Sister Raquel Blake back to the screen. You got to unmute first.
Yes, welcome back. Yeah,
Yes,
this
yes,
looks and sounds better, eh?
yes, yes.
All right. So before we went off, I was looking at doing a kind of recap on our last program that a lot of persons look at counseling as when you're in troubled waters, and that, as we said, that's not necessarily true. And then we segued it into looking at the fact that many persons think that marriage counseling basically is just a quick fix. That we are expected that when we have issues that we should really get over it in a specific period of time, whether 1 week or 2 weeks, all right. But let us stop to think about how complex some of our issues are that bring us to the office of the counselor. And these complex issues usually take time to develop, sometimes over months and years. And so the question is, if these issues are so complex, why do we then think that we should get over these issues in a very short period of time? So marriage counseling really is not a quick fix. Yeah, as a matter of fact, one of the things that I would also want to say is that when we go for counseling, we must also check our expectations. What are the things that we hope to get out of get going for counseling? And we must also make sure that our expectations are realistic. Again, it takes quite a while to build up these complex issues. And so therefore, our expectation should also be that it is going to take a while to get over these different issues. What you want is, Raquel?
Definitely, I agree with you. Uh, it's important that as counselors and as we are talking about truths and myths of counseling, that we provide some kind of we help to manage expectations for persons who are considering counseling, and that really um, couples should really, as they enter counseling, they should try to have realistic expectations about the pace
Mm-hmm.
and about just how the flow, the progress that they'll make in counseling. Like you said, the same way that challenges and problems develop over time, through the counseling process, it will take time to unearth. It will take time to build the rapport, build the connection, build the understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And so couples should not come to counseling and expect that I'm here today, I paid my money, and I want to see immediate results. No, that's really unrealistic. When you go to a doctor, the doctor also has to take time to have the conversation with you, find out what are the symptoms, what are the challenges, what other medication you're taking, and we really commend doctors when they do a thorough job.
Mm-hmm.
So similarly, in terms of coming to a professional, a counselor, a psychologist for marriage counseling, then in a similar way that you should um, think about understanding that significant change takes time, right? And of course, couples should look at it as a journey. They should look at it as a process. There's a little proverb that says, um, "Inch by inch, life's a cinch."
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think I misquoted it, but the point from that quote or that little proverb is that in order to make progress, you have to take little steps, step by step, incremental steps, in order for you to achieve your goals.
So you are agreeing then that it is a process,
It is a process.
and like most processes have different components to it. So in order to get to the result, you have to go through the process. And we always talk about trusting the process.
Trusting the process,
right?
yes.
And one of the things in building relationships, especially marriages, strong marriages, is that you can't skip one of the process. You have to be willing to go through all of the processes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You have to be willing to go through all of the struggles, all of the hard parts, the not so good parts, to get to the good part. And so the process itself has to be followed through. And what that brings to me, Raquel, is the fact that we as we go into our relationships, we must expect that there are going to be some amount of challenges, right?
True.
I think it's very unrealistic for anybody to enter the space of marriage thinking that everything is going to be sunshine every day, right? And I think that is one of the things that actually lead a lot of people to counseling because of some of the unrealistic expectations that people have.
Yes.
Right? That it is supposed to be perfect. My partner is supposed to know me. I am supposed to know her, and we ride. The knight in shining armor. We ride off into the sunset and live happily ever after, or Cinderella, or one of those fairy tales. And so when the issues do come up and persons see counseling, they kind of have an expectation that they must get back to where they are coming from in a very short period of time. So, and that is why I think a lot of persons end up wanting to fix each other, right?
Yeah, you're so right. But we talk about having unrealistic expectations, but I want to add that you have unspoken expectations.
Right,
And
very true, very true, very true.
So unspoken expectations can also cause serious and grave challenges in relationship. And so, as we are debunking these myths about marriage counseling, it is also I also want to share that the counselor plays that role where in the first session, when you're just meeting the clients, we also share expectations. We also ask the clients, what are their expectations, and so we want them to name their expectation, rather than have it in their head, or rather than thinking that we can just come in one session and everything will be fixed.
Very true, very true.
Yeah.
So in counseling, Raquel, what are some of the things that we unearth? Because so we have looked at the myth. What is the truth now?
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things that we try to unearth as we go into counseling persons? One of them we try to identify the underlying problems.
Yes.
And it brings me back to a particular principle that we would have learned when we were doing our studying,
Mm-hmm.
the iceberg effect. And the iceberg effect says, basically, in layman terms,
Mm-hmm.
is that when you see an iceberg, what you see on the surface is really not the iceberg.
No, it's just as a tip.
Right? What you see on the surface is really a fraction of the iceberg. The greater part of the iceberg is under the surface.
Yes.
Right? And that is how many ships, when ships run aground, on icebergs. It's really not the top of the iceberg that they hit, they run around from the bottom, because the greater part of the iceberg is below the surface.
Right, but they were only focusing on the top. Yeah, they saw
exactly. And so even when persons come for counseling, many times, what they come for is not the issue, right? Right. What the presenting problem is really not the problem.
Yes.
And as counselors, we have to dig deep to unearth some of these issues, and that is why the quick fix can't work.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
And many times the truth is, if it was only one issue that you unearthed, it probably would be bad and not that bad. But then what we find a lot of times is that when people come for counseling, you unearth one issue after the other. And especially, Raquel, when they would not have had counseling prior to the problem that is presented. And that is one reason I don't think that, especially for premarital counseling, that you can get 6 sessions of counseling and that is going to prepare you for a lifelong relationship.
It has to be something that is ongoing. It has to be something that is you're intentional about it, and that the same in a similar way. You make time for to go to the dentist. You make time to go and have your eyes checked. It's also important to make time to check up on your relationships.
True.
Seek out the help of a neutral person, of a trained professional who can help to unearth some of those problems, because even persons who are just getting married, persons who are married for 17, 15, 10 years, there's still encounter times where you have unspoken expectations.
Yes.
And unrealistic expectations. And of course, going for a checkup or a tune up in terms of your relationship and your marriage, it will also help in those instances.
Yeah. And also think about what people bring to the relationship also.
Yeah.
People we carry a lot of good to the relationship, because I mean, no, usually people don't get involved in relationships that lead to marriage without there be some good. Each person has something. Everybody expects that.
To the table.
Yeah, but along with the good that we carry, we also carry a lot of baggage. We carry a lot of trauma. We carry a lot of bad habits, right? Habits sometimes that our spouses probably would not have seen before they made the commitment, and some of these issues only unfold when we get into the comfort of the relationship,
and living in one space.
Sometimes we have to unlearn certain kind of behaviors also, right? Because when we were functioning by ourselves, we were good and all right, because we had nobody to look in on us. We had nobody to compete with us. Nothing at all. We were all well and good by ourselves. And if we were by ourselves, then we wouldn't have a problem. Right. But no, we enter that space where you have to share that space now with somebody else. Right? The baggage and the trauma that you could have dealt with by yourself, hopefully. Right? Hopefully. It becomes now the other person's issue, the other person's trauma. What the other person has to live with. And when you come into the counseling space, these things take time to deal with. And you have to have a counselor who is very effective, very empathetic to what is happening. And you have to be willing to put in the work.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that is one of the myths again, Raquel, that many people come to counseling not expecting to do the work.
They just expect the counselor to provide all the answers.
So the counselor is supposed to be there talking off their head, giving you all of the solutions to your perceived problems and issues. And then it's like going to the supermarket and you go to pick up certain items, you know exactly what you're going to pick up and pay for. Many people treat the counseling office just the same way. They come with a set of expectations, and yes, Raquel is going to come and give me all of the tools that I need to fix my husband. Or the wife come and said, Paul is going to give me all of the tools that I need to go home to fix my wife. And it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work like
that. You have to be willing to put in the work. It is a space of work.
Yes, and that's that work that you're talking about involves also people processing emotions.
That's right. True.
Because
True.
in marriage counseling, you'll definitely encounter situations where might be painful. You have to go back to some trauma or some issue that you might have
Yes.
dealt with,
Yes.
and so in processing, there will be some strong emotions. There will be some fear, some anxiety.
Yes.
And so it really takes time. It really takes a commitment that says, although I might be fearful, although I might encounter certain challenges or certain emotional um, experiences while I'm sharing with the counselor and with my spouse in this space, that you have to be committed to it. That in the same way that you made the vow that through till death do us part.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Part of that vow till death do us part includes that um going to marriage counseling will involve me making the time, making a commitment that I will see this through. I will
That's right.
trust the process.
Yes.
Because from time to time we need external help. Couples need external help to deal with a number of issues.
That's right. And I don't want to add, Raquel, that is you go for counseling, whether as an individual or a couple. It's also a new relationship, and new relationships take time.
True. Yeah, because you're
Right?
building the connection with the counselor. You
Most of the times when you enter into a new space with a counselor, you really don't trust the counselor.
You have to take time to build trust.
Even those of us who are counselors, right? it takes some amount of time to build that trust where you can trust this person with your innermost thoughts and feelings.
Yes.
And that takes time. And so the quick fix thing is really not going to work, right? It takes time to be comfortable enough to unearth your feelings, to unearth your fears, and so forth, to really sometimes talk about the darker parts of who you are. And that requires a level of trust and confidence in the other party.
Right, but and you talk about and it doesn't always have to be a dark a dark side, in the sense that you have individuals who have never gotten a chance to name their feelings, have never gotten a chance to be heard.
That's right. True.
You have
True.
people in relationships, in marriages, who there's no constant or regular communication, and so when you go to a counselor, you're now getting a chance to be heard. And sometimes that is quite persons that might be apprehensive, might be timid about it,
True.
because they're not sure if they're going to be judged. They're not sure if you're going to be empathetic. And so, like you're saying, it takes time, and the trained or the skilled counselor will now be the one that will help to build the trust and build the rapport, and
Very true.
be empathetic,
Very true.
and allow you to feel at ease that this is it's a safe space, and you can come here to get the help. But like we're saying, going to a counselor to get help will require your input.
Yes.
It will require you thinking about what are the reasons you came here, what goals, what do you want to accomplish by coming to a counselor.
Yeah.
So even that will be some work where you have to think about, okay, I'm going to marriage counseling. You're going to be asked a question, why have you come?
Yeah.
What kind of help do you need? So you have to be involved in the process.
Yeah. Very, very true. And when we look at counseling too, in terms of the truth of counseling, let us look at it also as a opportunity for learning new skills. And we know that to learn new skills takes time, right? Learning anything new, any new set of skills takes time, right? I remember when I was learning to cook back then. Yeah, quite a few times the food was burnt, right?
Or too salty,
or too salty, or too sweet, or too much water or something.
Right.
But
And
is a skill that you acquire over time. And you get better at it. And I think the same kind of approach works when it comes to a relationship. That if we are going to strive for living better and having healthier relationships, we must understand that there are some skills training that needs to be had. Yes. And if you are going to learn a new skill, it also means that you have to be willing to give the time that it takes to learn this skill.
Definitely agreed. We want to pause as we see some comments in the
it
chat.
Says, okay, welcome to all who are tuned in via Facebook and YouTube. Please feel free to send in your comments and questions, right, brother? Yeah, we welcome comments and questions. You spoke about processing emotions and experiences. Counseling is that space where you are expected, well, are taught,
encouraged
to process your emotions and also to be comfortable processing your emotions, right? To develop a rapport with the counselor that enables you to feel comfortable disclosing without feeling that you are being judged or chastised, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah.
Because we know, Raquel, that many times people come to counseling, one party is going to come very defensive. Right? True. One party, or even both parties for that matter, will come to the counseling session with a wall already built.
True.
Right? And will also sometimes even want to accuse the counselor of being judgmental and being on somebody's side even before the conversation begins.
Exactly, so those are, some unrealistic expectations.
So those are some unrealistic expectations. And it's almost as if as a counselor, you have to focus on removing the wall before the process of healing can begin.
Exactly. And but implied in just implied in that statement is that you have to give it some time, because in a counseling session, 45 minutes to an hour, when we're having a conversation with two individuals, it will take time.
Yeah.
And so the first session, you're going to be, getting some information, building the connection, and so the first session is just the beginning. Just so you have to be committed now to coming again, second time, coming again, and also of course be committed to doing some homework, because everything will not be dealt with in the session.
Yeah.
The counselor will provide the platform, will provide the space and the opportunity for you to unearth emotion. But you have to do some work outside of the session.
I remember back in the day, Raquel, and this is not marriage counseling, this is one of my first counseling sessions when I think I was still doing my master's then. And I remember counseling a teenager. And she sat in the session for 45 minutes and said absolutely nothing.
Exactly.
And you can imagine how I felt as an inexperienced counselor. Right? She sat in the session, and no matter what I said to her, she said absolutely nothing.
So you had a lot of wall to be breaking.
So I am just there looking at one point in time, I was looking at the four walls, wondering where to go. And after the session, as a matter of fact, she was supposed to come back because she was sent here by the court. And at the end of the session, she said to me, the only reason why I'm coming back is because I have to come back. And so, I mean, it was a session that I was really not looking forward to the next time. But it brings you back now to some of the walls that we have to deal with when it comes to, carrying people through a particular process that will enable them to live better relationships. And even as counselors, we really can't take anything for granted either.
Right, but you've been making an effort for those 45 minutes. Hopefully sent a good message to her that you're committed
Yeah.
to, you're committed to being there. You're committed to supporting her even in her silence. Because
Yes.
sometimes that is, or like the point I like to make, that persons want to feel heard, and sometimes being heard can involve just the silence, where you're sitting there, somebody's sharing information, but they just accept you in
Yeah.
your silence.
Yes.
And some persons need that.
Yeah. Yeah, and even in dealing with the reality of counseling, also you mentioned about setting goals and so forth. As the counseling session progresses, we have to revisit some of these things, revisit goals, revisit a lot of the stuff, even to see if we are meeting the particular objectives that we would have set. So it is necessary a lot of times to go back. Um, I wouldn't want to go as far as back to the beginning, but going back sometimes is really very good. Revising, looking at, are we meeting the particular objectives? Are we dealing with the particular issues? Are we addressing the things? Is the relationship getting better?
Right.
Right?
So there's also time for assessment.
The assessment,
You
very,
know,
very,
there's time
very
for assessment
important.
and
Very
evaluation.
important.
You know,
Right? Managing and give it time to also manage expectations. Looking at setting, are the goals that we have, looked at before, were they realistic? Are we meeting these kind of objectives? And important, Raquel, embracing the journey. Embracing the journey. The process of counseling is a journey, right? And for me, if you want a favorable outcome, you have to be willing to take the journey, right?
yes.
You have to shed a little bit of who you are as you go along. And I find that the most difficult clients to deal with, especially where marriage counseling is concerned, are those who come to the session with a wall already built.
Yes, so they have to, an open mind. An
Yeah.
open mind is required. So yes, you will have, yes, as counselors, we expect that, persons will come with some hesitation, but
Yeah.
also with some anticipation.
Yeah, yeah, I like that.
Yeah. They will
Yes.
come with
So
some
there is hesitation, but you must
there's
also
some
come with anticipation.
anticipation.
Very, very good. I like that. I like
Yes,
that.
man.
I like that.
Because although you might be just meeting the counselor for the first time, the counselor is on your side. I mean, in the sense that the counselor is is trained. The counselor is in a space where with to empower you, to provide the tools that will enhance your relationship.
Yeah.
So the level of anticipation should be there, but you also realistically will have some hesitation.
Yeah. But Raquel, what about the fact that many times people come for counseling, Raquel? They expect that the counselor is going to help them to work through issues, that is going to help them to better the relationship. But when they have setbacks and slip ups, it's almost as if the counselor has to start from square one again.
But it's a part of the process. Like just a few minutes ago, like I was saying that in all of life you have setbacks, you have slip ups.
Mm-hmm.
We had a technical issue or some technical issues a while ago, and so we have to expect those too. That in the journey of life,
Yeah.
in the journey of marriage and relationships, there will be setbacks. There will be relapses. But the idea is that the counselor is on your side, cheering you on, that we can work it
So
out
in
together.
other in
And
other
the
words,
spouses have to be on each other's side.
in
And
other words,
we
I
work it
hear
out
you saying
together.
that it is not a perfect script.
No,
Right?
never,
Yeah, the script is not perfect.
never.
Even the issues that you have, you will get over them,
Mhm.
but you will find from time to time you slip back into the
The
same
always.
space.
Mhm.
And I always tell clients that you must remember sometimes that you're not supposed to be too hard on yourself and also too hard on each other, because I think that is where we mess up a lot of times, where We expect everything to be so perfect and everything to be solved in a specific time. And when we end up having these relapses where sometimes even some of the same ugliness that you're trying to get over creeps up again. And we have to remember that we are human beings. And this is where the act of forgiveness takes place.
Yeah, and that's what I was about
Forgiveness
to say.
has to be a part of the healing process.
It's a big
Right?
part of just the daily journey.
And some things, Raquel, are going to be very difficult to get over.
Yeah.
Some things will take years to get over, right? And people will come to the session and say, boy, they can't see how they ever going to get over this, right? And one of the things that I tell my couples when they come, and this is something that I say, not just out of my head, but based on my experience. I don't see any relationship that cannot be fixed. The only relationship that cannot be fixed is the one that you're unwilling to fix.
You're not willing to take the steps to do some work to commit to it. Persons make the comment that time heals everything, but I heard recently on a video I was watching where the presenter was making the point that time and attention.
Yes, time and attention. Yeah. So time alone don't work.
No, time alone doesn't work.
Time
it
and
attention. So like you're saying that you might figure that my relationship is now on the brink. Nothing can be done. But if you have even 1% of a desire, you have even 1% of an inclination to say, let me give it a try.
Yeah.
Then it's possible. It's possible.
Every time I have counseled couples, and as long as I see a glimmer of hope,
yeah,
I am willing to work with that couple.
Yes.
Just I mean, the situation may be very difficult, very bad. And on the surface, there is really no hope for them. But sometimes in the session, one of them will say something, or both of them may say something. I say, all right, this is something that we can work with.
Yes.
And just giving them that glimmer of hope, it allows them to work through the processes. And it as we say, it's a difficult thing.
Yes.
But if we are going to debunk the myths, we have to tell people that the process works.
Yes, and the process it works, and it's the idea is that it's a long-term approach.
It is. It's a long-term.
It's a long-term approach. So the long-term approach applies in terms of the fact that the sustainability of your relationship will require your effort, but now also that, like we're saying, that it's coming to counseling is not a quick fix, and so as we are looking at the different issues, the different factors that are impacting on the relationship, and you're coming to deal with them, it will also take some time.
Yeah.
We can't say if it's going to be a month or 3 months, 6 months, but the idea that it takes some time.
It takes time.
It takes time.
It
and you
takes
have to be
time.
thinking that
you have to be in it for the long haul.
That's right. And also be in it to win it. As they would say,
True.
Be in it to win it. As we talk about the fact that if they have a glimmer of hope, a glimmer, 1% of effort, 1% that, yeah, man, it might look steep, it look rough, but I want to push through.
And then we have to also come back to the place of how does God view marriage, and what is God's expectation of marriages? For us, we know that God holds the union of marriage as a very special thing to him. Holy, so much that he likens the church and the relationship with Jesus Christ as a marriage, which means that marriage is important to God. Right?
And that nothing is impossible when God is in it.
And that's what I was going to say. Yeah. That if God puts this union together, then he must know how it can be sustained. If he knows how it can be sustained, then he's also going to give you the tools to help sustain it.
Yes.
And as far as I know, God would not give us anything to do that is impossible. Because he is in it. He is the one that created this wonderful union for us to enjoy. And at no point in time in God's discussion of marriage does he ever say that it is easy. Right?
Sunshine and rain.
Sunshine and rain. And that is probably why everybody don't do it. Because one man says that if it was, everybody, if it was that easy, everybody would do it. And so, marriage is special to God.
It is.
Right? And one of the myths that we have bought into, and that the world is selling us, that marriage is getting outdated.
Not true.
Right? There's this common belief that people have, that marriage is getting outdated, and that is not true. People are still getting married, right? And there are still good marriages around.
Correct.
There are marriages that everywhere you go, people are enjoying their relationships. But what is being portrayed, what is being given to us, is really the negative side of what marriage is.
Yes.
And so we have bought into that myth. And if you look at the world that we are living in today, that because of what is being portrayed by society, then a lot of people are choosing not to enter the space of marriage. But marriage is special to God.
It is.
Marriage is something that God celebrates. And if God didn't know that it worked, then I don't think that he would have created this wonderful institution.
Yes.
Right? And so for us, especially for those of us who are Christian counselors, as we counsel persons and help them to navigate their relationships, we must not forget to remind them that it is not about what we do in terms of the profession itself, but also from the place that God holds it. Right? We are counseling not because of our skills necessarily, and we are skilled people, but we also value the institution of marriage the way that God values it. And every time that we speak, we are going to come from a place of how God sees this union.
Exactly. So we're ambassadors for marriages. We're ambassadors for marriage, and God, as the point you made earlier, that marriage works, but you have to work it.
Yeah. True.
It works.
Yeah, it works, but you have to work it. That's true.
You have to work it. Because it's not going to work by itself.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
We can't just get married. Oh, I'm married, and we sit here and we eat and we have a good time. You're gonna just get big and fat and and unhealthy.
Yeah.
So the idea is that it works, but you have to do something to make it work.
So there are benefits to marriage, long-term benefits. Change, and we know everybody, we're afraid of that word, change.
Actually, change is a good thing.
Change is a good thing, right? Yeah. And one person said that one of the things about change is that it is inevitable. Whether or not we like it, change takes place.
Yes. When you're not looking.
And even again, Raquel, one of the myths that people have where marriage is concerned is that it will always remain the same. And that is not true.
But if the individuals don't remain the same, how can we realistically, how can you expect that the marriage will remain the same? Because it's the individuals that make up the marriage. I mean, it's a simple point, but it's a valid point.
So as we change, our relationship changes, right? We have to decide whether or not it's going to change for the better or the worse, right? Exactly. And as the marriage vow says, for better or worse, right? So if we are going to move with the change that is going to enhance our relationship, it goes back to what we said before, that we have to be willing to put in the work. Yeah. Right? It works, but you have to work it.
So like you like that.
Yes, I like that. It works, but you have to work.
You want to pause at this time? Are there any comments? You want to recognize?
Carrie Ann Cunningham says, excellent presentation. Well done, Mr. and Mrs. Blake. And we know who Carrie Ann is. Hi, Carrie Ann. Thanks much. All right. So as we look at another myth, and this is one of the ones that we get accused of so many times.
Yes, and you know, we kind of mentioned it earlier.
The counselor will take sides.
Yeah.
Right? The counselor will take sides. As a general rule for me, I try to avoid, especially in marriage counseling couples who I know.
Yes, no, but it's not recommended.
It's not recommended.
It's not recommended.
And even if somebody comes to me and if they will tell you, they swear by you that you can help them, my first inclination is to send them to somebody else. Why? Because this is where you get the accusation that the counselor is going to take sides. Mm-hmm. I find it also much more when you are even counseling somebody who you know, especially somebody who is a Christian that goes to church with you, and they have a partner who's not a Christian, and there is problems in the relationship, and counseling is required. And some people tell us straight up that they're not coming because you and that person, right?
The relationship
you and that person, and they are going to take your side.
Yes, you are a relationship, and it's too close.
Yeah, and so
that's why it's not recommended.
Yeah, and so it's not recommended. Mm-hmm. But even beyond that, Raquel, sometimes also even when both parties don't know the counselor, and the counselor is the neutral party in the whole relationship, the counselor still gets accused of taking sides.
Right, so it's really a myth. It's a common misconception, and we definitely want to be putting it out there that based on our training, based on the framework in which we operate, that the counselor will remain neutral, will remain
and objective, and call and be willing to call out both sides.
Yes. And that's, and some persons can't deal with that.
Some people can't deal with that. Right? When the minute you call out person's actions, especially in the session, they tell you that, see, that's why I didn't want to come. Because I know the counselor will take your side. even when you don't know, you have no idea who these persons are. You're meeting them for the first time. And as the relationship develops where the counselor and they are concerned, sometimes the counselor gets accused of taking sides. So simply because you are calling out their actions. And one of the things that I notice in some of these sessions also is that when you are calling out the other party, you don't get accused. but the minute the table turns, it becomes something else. But the truth is, as counselors, we undergo extensive training, right? Our training teaches us that one of the things that we have to do above all things is to be objective.
Yes, to be objective and
right? To be neutral, do no harm.
And of course, there are ethical principles that we stand by.
We are guided by ethical principles that means a lot to us, right? And oftentimes, as counselors, we have to be brutally honest. And being brutally honest does not mean that you are taking a side.
Right, and I mean, you say brutally honest. You want to explain that a little bit more?
I will tell persons who I counsel that as a counselor, I'm really not your friend. I'm your counselor. I'm not your friend. So therefore, we are not necessarily expected to have a friendly relationship. We are expected to have a counselor, a professional relationship.
Well, that will still be cordial, but definitely professional.
And so I am going to be as objective as I can.
Definitely.
And I am going to call it as I see it. I'm going to be empathetic in calling it out. But I'm going to call it as I see it.
Right, and calling as you see it will involve having open dialogue. That's what.
Because that is
the essence of what you're saying.
That is what I am there to do, to facilitate a discussion that's going to lead persons to making a decision that's going to benefit their relationship, right? And I think you are always going to run the risk of being accused of taking sides. I don't think it's something that we can avoid.
You can't avoid it, but definitely, if even if person make the comment or even think so, then it should not be true.
It should not
It
be
should not
true.
be true. And in terms of how the counseling process unfolds and how it manifests itself, it's the client will come to realize, oh no, that was a mistake that I made. I
Exactly.
shouldn't have even made that thought, because the process of building the trust, the process of building rapport, unearthing the
Yeah.
story and so on, takes time. And of course, as the professional
Yeah,
relationship
exactly.
grows, you realize that,
And as counselors, we tend to listen more than we speak.
yeah, you realize that the counselor was really right.
As counselors, we tend to listen more than we speak.
Yeah.
And that is what we are there to do, to be active listeners. We have had sessions, Raquel, over the years where um persons come to us for counseling and they end up talking the whole session, because that for
That's
them
what they needed.
that's what they need. They need a listening
That's
ear.
what they need at that
right?
particular time.
And so for the most, we talk sometimes a lot. We do talk, but we tend to listen more than we actually talk.
Right, and then also, so the client talks, the counselor listen, but then there are other times what the counselor has to be mediating.
The counselor has to be mediating.
Yeah,
so the counselor is a facilitator for a lot of times.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. Helping the couple to navigate, a difficult situation, a difficult conversation. But also at the same time, striving to remain objective,
Yeah.
to be constructive, because
Have you ever had the experience of having a couple come to you for counseling, and they come with issues, and real issues, by the way, right? Let us not downplay the issues. But when they come and you are the facilitator here in it, and they end up talking to each other, and you would just sit down there not saying anything, and they are able to even work through what is happening by you being there as the active listener.
Just an active listener.
Right? But what they need is just that person in the middle.
And just the space.
just the space.
Safe space.
Yeah, that's right.
Just the safe space and the neutral ground that says, I'm being listened, and if anything is going awry, the counselor know that the counselor is present, who will keep it all together.
So an effective counselor doesn't take sides.
Never. Not supposed to take sides.
Right. So we mediate, and we listen, and we listen objectively, and all of that. And so
we encourage honesty. I will talk about encouraging open dialogue.
That's right.
Because one of the things too is that when persons come for counseling, as you said, they might say one thing, but as they continue to come, you realize that this one thing that they said was not the thing that brought them there in the first place. Right, and so the counselor will help them to have open dialogue and for honesty to come to be the hallmark of the process.
Yes.
Honesty is the hallmark of the process.
Yeah. True. Another thing, myth. Again, as we look at, I think probably this might be the last one.
Yeah, we're approaching.
Only weak couples need counseling. Only weak people need counseling.
That comment.
We can solve all our problems. And this is what I have heard so many times. I don't believe in counselors because we should be able to solve our problems. I've heard the statement, we are Christians, so we can solve our problems by ourselves. All we need is God and the Bible. You've heard that one, don't it? What do you think about it?
When you have an asthma attack, when you have a heart attack,
I have God and the Bible.
You have a and you see they follow in the concept, in that mindset.
That's right.
So if you have a toothache, you're not going to that is a God who empower men and women to be great dentists and doctors and surgeons and also great counselors.
Yes, that's right.
And so he empowers, he provides us with these skills, with the information, so that we can be of help.
That's right.
The Bible talks about the power of the mind.
That's right.
So and so that's why this element of, or this myth that only we couples need counseling is really really a myth.
So the need for seeking counseling is not
tied up in
weakness.
In weakness, exactly.
It is the fact that you need an intervention that you cannot provide. You need something else. I am not a mechanic, and I never try to fix my car.
But the Bible speaks about seeking help, about support.
That's right.
About so from those point of view, then you see that the value.
Mm-hmm.
There's value in counseling. Proverbs talk about the fact that seek counsel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's important to carefully select who you seek counseling from. As you said, you're not a mechanic, but you're certainly not going to go to any mechanic.
Exactly. Exactly.
Your mechanic must meet the standards. In a similar way, the counselor must meet the standards. So as we are talking about counseling and trying to debunk some of these myths about marriage counseling, it's also important that clients do their homework, do their checks.
Exactly.
Find out about the type of counseling, find out about what do you want to address first, and then seek out information about the relevant person. And
we find this, Raquel, also with mostly among men, about the weakness part of it. We find that problem especially among men. And you would have heard me say time and time again. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's the same thing for you, but for me, a lot of my counseling in terms of relationships begin with women. Mm-hmm. They are the ones who come for counseling first. They are the ones who oftentimes recognize that there is some kind of issue in the relationship that needs to be addressed. Mm-hmm. Do you know when I see the men?
It's when it might be a little too late.
When I see the men is when the wife says, "This is it, and I am not going any further."
So he feels his back is against the wall.
When the wife says, "I am done, and I'm going to move out. I'm going to file for divorce." and a lot of times, Raquel, when she makes this particular decision, why? Is oftentimes a point of no return. And then I see the husband showing up. Because he wants to see, yes, a lot is at stake. So
so that's why
save me.
So that is the end. That's one of the point. That's one of the takeaways. As we are drawing to a close, one of the takeaways from this discussion about the myths and truths of marriage counseling is that couples have to be proactive.
That's right. Very true.
You have to be proactive. You have to keep on top of your relationship. You have to keep on top of your emotions. You have to keep on top of what's happening in what's happening with you as an individual, mm-hmm. and what's happening in the marriage.
Yes.
Now, because you can't do marriage alone, and so I have to keep checking in with you. You have to keep checking in with me. And then if we see where we need a little tune up,
exactly.
Be open to
it. Seeking counseling as a man does not make me a weakling.
No.
As a matter of fact, it's a sign of strength.
It's a sign of strength.
To recognize that I need help is a sign that I am a strong person.
And taking the necessary
actions. That's a sign of strength.
It's a strength. It's actually a strength.
That is telling me that I'm not only concerned about me, but I'm also concerned about the other person. Definitely. It's not always about me. And so let us throw this thing through the window that marriage counseling is only for weak people. It's not for weak people. So people recognize the need of enhancing their relationship, allowing their relationship to grow, mm-hmm. to what it can be. Right?
Is there any comment?
No, there's no more. There's no more.
Okay.
So as we wrap up tonight, we have talked about debunking some of the myths of marriage and putting some truths there. And we want to say to our audience that don't fall into this trap of thinking that there's not value in seeking a space where you can discuss matters pertaining to your relationship. Don't wait until there are issues before you seek help. Right? And as we said before, marriage counseling is not just for people who are on the brink of getting a divorce or on the verge of breaking up. You can seek counseling for just about anything. Right? You can also seek financial counseling. You can seek emotional counseling. You can seek family counseling. There are so many different aspects of counseling that we can seek to help us to have better relationships. So it doesn't have to be that you're on the brink of divorce. It don't have to be that the relationship is so far gone that there is no hope. You can seek intervention in a relationship for just about anything, because at the heart of it is the fact that you want a better relationship, a better marriage with the person that you are married to.
Yes.
All right. So as we close this discussion, hope that we have discussed some matters tonight that will also help persons to navigate this wonderful union that is called marriage, this institution that God holds so dear and that God will always hold dear, right? Marriage will never be outdated where God is concerned. Marriage will always be the thing that God upholds. Somebody's asking a question: how often do marriages on the brink of divorce come back from that? Many times, many times. I have counseled some couples that when they come in the office, even me lose hope sometimes. When they come sometimes into the office and they discuss the kind of issues that they're having, I said, boy, is there anything that can be done for them? And that is when I have to breathe a prayer and put it in the hands of God and do what I am trained to do. And as we said before, if persons are willing to put in the work, they can come back from just about anything, right? If you look at some relationships on paper, why them people shouldn't be married? But when they are committed to doing the work, you'll be surprised what that relationship can turn out to be.
When they're committed also to allowing God in the picture in the middle.
Yes.
It can make a difference.
Submitting to God. Submitting to God. That is one of the things. Even no matter how skilled your counselor is, if you are not willing to submit to God, it will not work. Because at the end of it, it is our submission to God along with the skills of the person that is doing the counseling that helps us. But at the heart of it must be a willingness to submit to God. And I can tell you, it is not one of the easiest things. Sometimes, Raquel, sometimes we think the counselor call us out. Nobody call us out more than God.
You work to mysterious.
when God call us out, there's nothing that we can do to argue about. God will always call us out through His word.
Through His word.
Right? His word is like a mirror that makes us, we see ourselves in it. And when you see yourself in God's mirror, the only thing you can do is either agree or disagree.
You have to fall on your knees, on your knees, and repent, Lord, help me. And of course, that's one of the points that we have echoed through the conversation this evening is that there must be a willingness.
There must be a willingness
on the part of the couple, on the clients or the couples, to do some work, to make an effort, to be committed to doing what it takes to make the relationship work.
At the heart of it, Raquel, what makes it work, and you say it, there must be a willingness.
Yeah.
If both of us are willing, we can weather any storm.
Can overcome.
Can overcome anything. As we close tonight, thank the audience. Thank you for wherever you join from, whether somewhere in the Caribbean, in the US, or in Africa. We are very happy to have this program, Level Up Your Marriage, where we discuss all things marriage from a Christian and biblical perspective. We give God honor and glory for using us using us in this mighty way to help fix marriages, to help grow marriages, because we believe that marriage is important. Until another episode of Level Up Your Marriage, we wish you a good night, wherever you are joining from. And we pray that God will continue to bless and strengthen marriages. From Level Up Your Marriage, Raquel and Paul Blake.
Have a good night.
They can never take the love out in this place. They can never take the love